Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's getting to be about that time of day. You're probably getting a little bit hungry, and just so happens that the good folks at Rudy's Barbecue have been working all day, and they've got all kinds of stuff over there for you to eat. If you're out and about, stop on by, and also you'll have an opportunity to visit with a couple of players that we're going to have on. Olivia Fetzer and Georgia Leb will join us in the second segment. In the third segment, Dr. Ryan Pittsinger, Assistant Athletic Director and Director of Counseling and Sport Psychology, will join us. It's National Student Athlete Mental Health Week. Glad you are with us. I'm David Ellis. Alongside is Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri, and the Aggies coming off a big win against Ole Miss last Friday night, 4-0. And it's a good day to be an Aggie, G.
It sure is, and there's it's cooled off out there. There was a little bit of stuff falling from the sky to cool things off a little bit, so it's a good day to get outside and come on over here and get some barbecue tonight.
Well, Texas A&M, of course, just one game last week, which was big in the sense that it gave the players the full weekend off, which after going for 5 or 6 straight weekends was a welcome break. And not only that, but you go out and scored. Started off a little bit slow, maybe in the first 20 minutes, but scored in the 35th minute, and from then on, it was Katie bar the door.
Well, first off, this was the first Sunday off in September, and the fact that it was the last day of September, that was the first of October was our first day off in forever. The players had worked so hard all season long, and we talked this time last week about how pleased I was with the work effort that they put in, how hard last week was. It was such a physical week. The week prior, having to go to Mississippi State and play such a physical team in state and get a win on the road, and then come home and play the most physical team in the country in Arkansas, and be able to to be such a positive, on all the statistics except for the scoreboard, unfortunately, and that we wanted to kind of feed off of that, but our players were super tired. I mean, last week, leading up to the game against Ole Miss, in training, you could see the fatigue in the players and just on how tired they were. And so, part of what we went into this past game was like, okay, we've got to find a way to muster that energy one more time. Understanding that, with a good performance, you're going to get this weekend off. We're not planning on training on Saturday or Sunday. So, what do you say? Let's do this one more time. And the players did. I mean, the energy, just kind of the blitz that they were able to go out and put on the Rebs was pretty amazing. And once the first goal came, it didn't take long for the second goal to come along.
Right, five minutes.
Yeah, about 35 minutes into the match, the first goal came from Sydney Becerra. Then, boom, soon after, you had Anderson Williams with the second goal. That got us into halftime. And we didn't really play as well as we could in that first half. But the second half, it was one-way traffic. And really, and I think we left a little bit of meat on the bone, and it could have been worse. And but I was pleased with the players. And again, sign of respect for your opponent, that you don't take your foot off the gas.
Right.
You keep going, and you don't mess around with them. You don't toy with them. And I know from the Ole Miss bench, they were just they were pleading with their players, let's finish, please finish strong, because we had our foot on the gas the whole time, and we're keep coming. And we were able to substitute and get a lot of players in, but at the same time never let up. And I was pleased with that. And 4 goals by 4 different players. It was shut out by the defense. We gave up no shots from within any kind of dangerous distance. And again, another great performance by the defense, but a really an overall overwhelming performance by our attack. Goals on set pieces, goals on counters, goals on changing the point of attack, goals in a lot of different ways by a lot of different players.
One of the things that we mentioned during the broadcast was, you have a 2-0 lead at halftime. In that first 10 minutes of the second half, so important, because if you can put something on the board and make it 3-0, then all right, the game's not over, but that takes a little bit of the pressure off. On the other hand, you go out the first 10 minutes of the game, you give up a goal, all of a sudden it's a 1-goal game. They start believing they've got a chance, and then they're on the front foot. And to the Aggies' credit, again, 10 minutes into the second half, it was a goal by Macy Matula, her first goal of the season. Miley Hayes with the assist on that one, and that, again, that made it 3-0, which, again, the game's not over, but it does ease the pressure just a little bit.
Well, we talked about that at halftime. That, listen, we have a 2-goal lead. They are officially still in this game right now.
Right.
And let's not let them think that they really are. Let's keep, we have our foot on their throat. Let's stomp it, and let's put the life out of them as soon as we possibly can. And we've talked about all year long. We've created a lot of scoring chances. We've gotten a lot of corner kicks. We've had a lot of players who have been able to, kind of put us in a good, dangerous position. Georgia Leb, who's one of our guests tonight, Georgia's been one of the players who's been great in serving balls. Well, Georgia was, serving time. Put it that way. It doesn't sound good.
No, it's not like she committed an offense.
She was in concussion jail.
Right.
Because once you have any kind of anything that resembles any kind of concussion, then you've got to go into the whole protocol of that. And she was scheduled to come out of concussion jail 36 minutes and 10 seconds after the game ended. So she was. If we were going to have a game on Sunday, she would have been able to play. But
Friday
we weren't. So Friday was a no-go. And she's been the person who's really had the best service for us on a lot of our corners. So on Thursday, she'll be one of those people who are key on that. But so it was Sammy Smith who served the ball. That set up the flick by Miley that got the ball to Macy on the second ball, and that set up the goal. And what I mean is we've always been such a great team for scoring goals on these corner kicks, and this year it just hasn't really fallen into place. And
but the last several games, it has started to
three
turn.
three goals on corner kicks in the last 4 games, I think. So that's a little bit more Texas A&M-esque, and again we've been training this a lot recently. A lot of it comes down to the types of balls and the type of timing that we want on these. And again, when you're in SEC play, you need to, when you have these opportunities, you've got to stick these opportunities, and we create chances, and we've got some great players that are in the area, especially when you've got you've got Jazz Wilkerson, you've got Quinn Cornock. Those are 2 of the best headers in the SEC. So let's serve these people and
give them a chance.
And of course, Macy Matula is one of those players as well. So Macy got her goal. Macy, like I said, Macy, it might be the most improved player that we have in the time that she's been here. Just what she's been able to do, not just as a defensive player, but in the attack, and then of course on these set pieces. So good for her. And then of course the last goal, the 4th goal, which really started with a goal kick from Kenna Caldwell, putting it up, getting it to Mia Pante, who then gets it to Carissa Beckman and into Micaiah McDonald. And I think from the time it left Kenna's foot to Mia to Carissa to Mac, probably 9 seconds.
Right.
And in the back of the net it was like bam, 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 bam.
It was a nice sliding goal, too, as she went in kind of sliding after the ball.
And it wasn't like it was just flick, flick, flick. It was pass, dribble, pass, boom, boom, goal.
Right.
And before they knew it, the ball's in the back of the net on the Rebs again. So, and then there, several other plays. I think, good chance that Sydney Becerra could have had another one that I think a lot of us would have lost money on if you're allowed to bet on these things.
Right.
And then the poor Ole Miss goalkeeper took one right in the nose from Taylor Jernigan late in the last minute of the game. That Mia Pante played a ball across, and Taylor just absolutely nailed it and just unfortunately just nailed the goalkeeper. I hope that she's not hurt. I mean, if there's a kid who could have a concussion, it could be the goalkeeper because
that is true.
TJ just absolutely nailed her. So good for the goalkeeper that she was in a good position for it. But oof, that hurt. I mean, it still hurts today when I watch the film. So
yes.
But all in all, a great performance. They were tied. We were tied with them going into the game. We're now we're tied for first place in the SEC West right now, and we're third place in the overall standings for the SEC. But still a lot of games ahead of us, and
yes.
We've put ourselves in a pretty good position. But this is a big week coming up with the game.
Huge.
The game at Vanderbilt on Thursday becomes really, really big, and then after that, home game against Alabama on Sunday. But first things first, and that is a monster game in Nashville on Thursday night.
Yep. If you look at the final stats for the game, Texas A&M outshot Ole Miss 26-5. Gives you an idea of the margin in terms of kind of the offensive possession, if you will. Ole Miss put one shot on frame. The Aggies put 11.
You know what's really interesting is that, again, Y-Scout, who's the statistical people we use, the possession of the game was 50-50. If you look at the stats, it was a 50-50 possession game. They actually had more passes than we did, I think, by just a few. But
But you didn't really give them anything in the final third.
No, they weren't in our half of the field very much at all. Most of their possession was amongst their defenders, maybe into their midfield, and all the chances were ours. So interesting how those statistics are not always telling.
Another thing that Friday that made it a good day was the annual Turn It Goal game, and it's an effort that I know means a lot to the Texas A&M soccer players and to you and to all of the staff. But again, raising money to help in the fight against juvenile cancer, and the Aggies wore their special gold jerseys, which were auctioned off, and then you could buy game balls and replica jerseys at the game, scarves, et cetera, et cetera. Talk a little bit about how that went.
Yeah, so at the ballpark, you could buy these replica jerseys. All of those replica jerseys sold out. They were going for $15 each. Every one of those that were in the stadium, they all sold, which is awesome. And good crowd on hand, a good Friday night crowd at Ellis Field, which is saying something because that's a bigger crowd than almost anywhere in the country on any Friday night. The scarves that we're selling for $10 each, almost all of those sold out. We will have some more of those, so we'll have those again next year for when this game comes around. And then the jerseys, the auction ended yesterday at noon on Monday, and all of those obviously went as well. And those are pretty cool jerseys. Next year we'll have a whole new design, done up by Alyssa Motts will probably do the design along with Adidas, and the overall total, I know that we raised well over $12,000 again for the third year in a row. So that's pretty cool. The girls on their own before the match kind of chipped in, and they put together just a check for $500, just that they out of just cash in their pockets. So our captain, which is kind of funny, our captain, Lauren Gessick, doesn't take Venmo. She's like, no Venmo. It's cash only. Give me cash. So, am I right?
Bless her heart.
So it's like cash, hard cash now, and go pull it out of your car. Go do this. And I don't think she took like rings or anything like that. It's just cold cash. And the girls, quickly took, at threat of injury, took $500 quickly and put it together. So they presented a check to the founders of the Turn It Gold Foundation, check for $500 before the match, and then
and these founders, by the way, are Aggie moms, right?
Exactly, and they're fantastic. And they've the Turn It Gold Foundation has raised well over $1 million over the years. They do a big gala down in Houston every January. They'll be inviting a lot of our girls down for that again this year. It really is a great organization. Aggie Baseball will be doing this in the spring. They've jumped on board with us, and I tell you what, for everyone who participated, we really want to thank you for what you've done to help out with this. And it's such a good cause. I mean, it's such a terrible thing to have to get on board with, to try to, for the families who have to go through this with their kids going through any kind of cancer treatments, is terrible.
Not something a kid should have to go through. That's for sure.
So thank you to everybody, and anyone who still wants to donate, you can go to 12thman.com/turnitgold and make a donation to this time.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Olivia Fetzer and Georgia Leb right after this break. You are listening to the Aggie Soccer Hour, coming to you live from Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. All righty, we are back at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road, and we're proud to welcome Olivia Fetzer to my immediate left, and on her left is Georgia Leb, and also in the audience tonight, their emotional support teammate is here. By the way, Quinn Cornog is here as well. So I don't know. Why did y'all feel the need to have an emotional support player here?
Quinn's just my go-to.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yeah, they're besties.
Oh, okay, all right. So I'm on a question for both of you that we had. And by the way, there are cards out there and pencils if you've got a question for the players or for Coach G. Or for Dr. Pittsinger, when he's up here in the next segment, all you've got to do is fill it out, send it up here. We will ask them. But for you, Olivia, now you come from Buena Park, California, and Georgia from Colleyville, Texas, so a little bit different length of trip. But how many visits to Texas A&M did it take you before you decided that's where I want to be?
Honestly?
Start with you, Olivia. Go ahead.
Okay. Honestly, for me, I think it was like the first trip. I'm not going to lie. My sister lived in Texas for a little bit, and I came to visit the campus, and I just loved like the atmosphere and everything about it. So for me, I think it was honestly like the first trip time, and I was like, I really like it here.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you felt that way, and for sure. What about you, Georgia?
I'm the same way. I actually didn't visit any other school before committing here. I committed right before the rules changed at the end of my 8th grade year. And so I met with Coach G, kind of a last-minute visit, and, loved it, loved the tradition, loved everything that A&M was about, and knew that I'd want to be here.
This, like you say, before the rules changed, back when you could commit when you were like 3 years old or something like that. But right? And the rules changed. And what is it now, G?
Well, now it's hard fast that kids are not really allowed to come and have any kind of contact until they're juniors in high school. So not until August 1st of their junior year can they come on campus.
And Georgia, but before the rule change, you committed when you were in the 8th grade?
Yeah, when I was 14.
Wow. Speaking of young ages, Liv, I've got a question for you.
Okay.
I was reading in your bio, and it says here that in 2018-2019, I think this was your high school team, you guys went 23-0-3, right?
Yeah.
You were ranked the #1 team in the nation by USA Today and earned status as the top drawer soccer high school team of the decade.
Yes.
You guys, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have kids one day, and you're going to be able to hold that up and go, yeah,
I did that.
I did that.
Yeah.
I mean, so y'all were, 23-0-3, and y'all were ranked #1 team by USA Today, and then high school team of the decade. I mean, is that something that y'all talked about? I mean, were you guys like the big guys on campus?
No, not really.
Not really?
Yeah, I had a few of not a few, actually a lot of my club teammates were also on that high school team, and so it was like really, really fun for us because it was like all of us together at high school, right? So then you see each other in the hallways, oh, hey, like that kind of thing. But yeah, we didn't like to flaunt it like that.
Well, I would have. I would have never. I just finished 4th in my fantasy baseball league, and I'm talking about that to anybody who'll listen.
Yeah.
So, Georgia, wanted to ask you. Tell these folks about Georgia. G and I and the entire all of the coaching staff always talk about how good our players do in the classroom, and Georgia is one of those. And she, member of Phi Theta Kappa International College Honor Society. Okay, I mean, we're not talking about Texas. We're not talking about the United States. We're talking about the International Honor Society. Based on a 4.0 GPA after 23 hours of dual enrollment classes, right? I mean, you were taking college classes before you ever got here. Is that what that means?
Yeah, I had almost 30 hours of college classes before I came in.
Before you enrolled at A&M, you had 30 hours of college credit?
Yeah, since I committed
Took me 3 years to get 30 hours, I think.
Yeah, since I committed so early, I had talked to G about always coming early, so I knew that was the plan, and I ended up doing custom school my last 2 years, and I just knew that I wanted to get ahead academically.
And your major is?
I was in kinesiology, but now I'm in business.
Business?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any ideas what you want to do with that? What part of the business realm you want to get into?
Probably marketing, but anything probably related to sports.
Okay. And I know, Liv, for you on the academic side of things, you're an allied health major, and you were very involved in the Turn It Gold thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, talk a little bit about that and what that meant to you, what caused your involvement in that, number one, and then what it means to you and your teammates.
Yeah. Well, Allie was also involved, but she had graduated.
This is Allie Russell from last year, right?
Yes. And so LG had reached out to me, and she asked if I would be interested in being involved with it, and I said, of course, I would love to. But yeah, it's super important. I think I'm very passionate about children and also cancer, period. I've had family members that have gone through cancer, and so that's just kind of a passion of mine. And so, yeah, it's just something that I'm very honored to be a part of, and I'm very happy that LG asked me. So. Well,
LG, for those that don't know, is Lauren Gessick, of course, one of the captains, and she is, if I'm not mistaken, a biomedical sciences major, going to be a physician. And with your allied health degree, what do you intend to do?
I'm not quite sure yet, but obviously something involving, health. I would love to work with kids. Like I said, childhood cancer. I mean, that's something I'm very passionate about. So something along those lines of helping kids that need it.
That are just sick and shouldn't be.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, let's talk a little bit about soccer. You guys had
both of these players came from two of the top clubs in the country. So Liv came from the SoCal Blues, which her youth team won a national championship. And then,
so you did that twice?
Well, the high school team was the one team that the J. Sarah high school team was there, and a lot of her club team played on that high school team, and then her club team also were pretty darn good too. Kind of worked out, dual players. And then Georgia came with from Solar, who also was one of the top teams in the country. So they're kind of accustomed to winning, which is a nice characteristic to have when you come into a college team. It's one of the characteristics we prefer to have within the group.
Absolutely, and as Aggie soccer fans, so are we. Yeah, that's been the heritage that's been built over the years. So I just wanted to bring that up about your involvement in Turn It Gold and the academic side with both of you, and Georgia, Coach G's already talked about you being one of the most improved players on the Aggie roster. What do you think has been the biggest improvement in your game?
Well, some steps how I got there were, just believing in myself, taking it day by day, really planning out what I wanted to work on. And I'm the type of person, I've talked to Phil and G about this, if you give me something to work on, I'm gonna work on it until it's good. Because that's the type of person I am, and I'm gonna put in the extra hours. And I think, my personality has really come out the more I've been here, and just it's been able to show on the field and grow.
And of course, with Liv, you don't see Liv during the game as much. What you do see coming to practice, and what impresses me so much about this young lady is the way she makes her other teammates better by the way she plays in practice. She goes 100 miles an hour, incredibly skilled player, and that's the kind of person and player that she is. And I just wanted to mention that because that's a hard job. You make everybody else better by virtue of the way you play. And that's a huge deal for Texas A&M soccer. Okay, you know what? You know what I did?
What?
I forgot to get you to read the Rudy's reader
goodness.
I noticed
when
that.
we came out of the
goodness.
break. So we're going to do it right now, but you have to add an extra line onto the end of it. Okay? All right. So the extra line is, after you read that, is that you say, we'll be right back. This is the Aggie Soccer Hour, and we'll be right back right after this. Okay?
Okay.
Can you do that?
Okay, say that one more time.
Ad lib on the end.
You're going to
wow.
ad lib the end. Okay? You got it? And say, this is the Aggie Soccer Hour. We'll be right back right after this.
Okay.
After you read that. All right. And by the way, don't mess this up. Okay?
Okay, no pressure.
Okay.
I got this.
All right. Okay. You've got it. Go,
Okay.
Georgia.
Soccer and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood. Rudy smokes all their meats using the delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. We'll be back after the break. This is Aggie Soccer Hour.
All right. There you go. We'll be right back right after this. All right, we are back at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. It's the Aggie Soccer Hour with Texas A&M head coach G Guerrieri. You have still got plenty of time to come out and get some of this great Rudy's Barbecue. And Georgia Leb did such a great job with the read this last time. I mean, I can't imagine why you wouldn't come out here to Rudy's Barbecue and order barbecue and sit down and talk soccer with the players and with Coach G and I, and with our guest that we have. We have him for two reasons. Number one, this is Dr. Ryan Pittsinger, Assistant Athletic Director and Director of Counseling and Sports Psychology at Texas A&M University. We asked him to be here tonight for two reasons. Number one, it is National Student Athlete Mental Health Week, for one thing. And the other reason is that he's just a great guy to be around and a lot of fun to have and on the show and to talk to. And so, Ryan, this is, you and I were talking about this a little bit. I mean, I don't think people appreciate the amount of pressure that student athletes, no matter what the sport, but student athletes at a elite athletic program like Texas A&M are under. I mean, and it comes from so many different directions. It's expectations that we as fans have of them and of the team, and it's expectations that they have of themselves, parents, friends, you name it. And these don't lie side by side. They lie, they pile up on top of each other.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit and what you do to help players deal with that.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, thank you first and foremost for having me out. You and Coach G, thank you. Always a pleasure. And you said it very well, that there's so much pressure that these student athletes put on themselves, as well as pressure that they feel from other people, whether that's directly or indirectly, whether it's parents, teammates, fans, friends, any of those sorts of things. And so normally these student athletes are so used to being the top of their game, basically their entire playing life. And then they come here and now all of a sudden everyone else is just as good or better than them. And so they're trying to make themselves proud, make their families proud. Also these coaches that have recruited them and put so many resources into their development. I've yet to meet with an athlete that tries to perform poorly.
Sure.
Right? So they're all trying to perform really, really well.
Right.
And then they have this fear of failure oftentimes, right? That kind of gets in the way of them being able to go and seek excellence, which is something that we talk about a lot. And so student athletes are trying to do their best. Not only are they navigating a full-time job with athletics, but they're also trying to navigate college.
Right.
And being
living
on their
in
own.
a new place.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then trying to have some semblance of relationships and maintain family relationships and have fun in college. And so you combine all those things, and there is a lot of pressure that they put on themselves and that they feel from other people.
So do they reach out to you? Do you reach out to them? How do you establish relationships with these players? How do they establish a relationship with you? How does that work?
Beautiful question. So one of the nice things about A&M athletics is that we really try to destigmify mental health. And so we want the players coming in, and that really starts at the top. Our athletic director, Ross, really encourages the student athletes to come in, as do the G and the rest of the coaching staffs, right? They want their players coming in. G has a famous line that you don't have to be sick to get better. And so just because you're coming into our office and meeting with one of our psychologists doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It actually means that, hey, you have the courage to come in. And the vast majority of student athletes that we work with, there's nothing wrong with them at all. They're working really, really well, achieving a lot, and we're just working on how they can achieve a higher level of excellence, talking about things like confidence, present moment focus, awareness, things like that.
So, for a lot of people, if you're not watching us on video on Facebook, Ryan is the guy, if you're watching a football game, is the guy who's a lot thinner than the other people on the sideline at Kyle Field. So, they'll do a shot of Jimbo, or they'll do a shot of the quarterback, and Ryan's the slender guy in the background, who's usually on the sideline. But it starts out with relationships with different people. And so Ryan comes in, and we have him come in. He has a great relationship with us, and especially with Phil Stevenson, who's our associate head coach, and with us. And he comes into our staff meetings, and we talk about what we're trying to do as a team. And then he'll come in and speak with our players on performance, on team performance, and trying to help them to understand what we're trying to do and help them to understand, just the ideas of excellence and how we're trying to achieve excellence as a team. And that's, as much as anything, is a way of just trying to make him more of a normal guy to them, and not Dr. Pittsinger, but Ryan. Ryan's coming in and hopefully making him just more comfortable to them, so that if they feel comfortable with him, that they'll go and feel better about just sitting down and having conversations with him, because he can help them out. And if it's not Ryan, then you've got other people on staff with him that they can sit down. And a lot of times, it just sitting down with people and talking with people is a big part of, good mental health. Is helping out with that. So you talk about Mental Health Week. Talk a little bit about what is Mental Health Week.
Yeah, so it's really just an opportunity for us to talk about mental health in a positive light, and to destigmify people coming in and needing to have some sort of assistance. Sure. And so it started with the Helinskis, who their son ended his own life, and he was a football player at Washington State. And then it's really kind of grown a life of its own, and now we're involved in all sports, all fall sports, and then also all spring sports in April. And so it's an opportunity to talk about the services that we provide, as well as get out and just be more present with our student athletes, so that they're comfortable coming in.
You kind of touched on this earlier. All of these players across really all sports, but I mean particularly in soccer, all of these players, they were pretty much their whole life the best on their team, or the
best in their state.
The best in their state. Yeah. And so now they come to Texas A&M, and they're playing on a team of players who are all like that, And is that one of the bigger problems you deal with because they put pressure on themselves to think that, okay, I'm failing, I'm not where I need to be? Is that one of the biggest? What is the biggest issue?
Yeah, I think that's one of them. And you use the word problem, and we really see it as, hey, it's a privilege. Right? It's a privilege to be here. They've worked so hard. They're so incredibly talented that they deserve to be here. They've earned it, and they continue to earn it through their hard work and their diligence. And there is an expectation that, hey, you're coming to A&M, and especially with the ladies on the soccer team, is not only do they want to play for themselves, but they want to play for that Texas A&M on their jersey.
Right.
That means so much to them to be able to contribute. And so sometimes if they're not contributing, that's hard for them. They feel like they're letting other people down. They're letting their teammates down, their coaches down. Meanwhile, they may not be experiencing that at all, right? They may be very, very pleased with how they're performing and how they're practicing and what they are contributing to the team. But yes, sometimes that does impact people in a pretty significant way.
I wanted to ask you one other question, because my wife and I had three kiddos, 2 girls, 1 boy, all of whom played various and sundry sports. Do you have to, is it different in the way that you work with a male student athlete versus a female student athlete?
I think in certain ways. So my wife and I, we now have 3-year-old twins, 1 boy and 1 girl, and it's certainly different raising a little boy and a little girl.
I knew you
that's
looked
for
a little
sure.
tired.
Oh goodness gracious! Before I came here, I was making dinner and making sure the bath was ready and all this stuff. So they keep me on my toes. But yeah, there is differences, and it's not some of the ones that people would maybe assume or think of. Oh gosh, the women tend to be more emotional, the guys are more stoic. It's actually not that at all, right? It's more that men, we have emotions. It's just been kind of socially appropriate to not show them. And so oftentimes these guys are coming in and they are feeling sad, or they're feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling scared or nervous or whatever. And this is maybe the first time that they're talking about it. Meanwhile, whenever you're working with women, they've oftentimes talked about this stuff a lot. Right. And so they're way more well-versed in how they feel and their emotional intelligence. Yeah. And so it's just being able to get men up on that same page sometimes. I
first of all, we're so grateful that we have you at Texas A&M, and always just amazed at the job you do with these athletes, and just want to thank you for everything you do, because it is such a key part of an athlete's performance in terms of how they feel about themselves and how they feel about what they're trying to do and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Well, I know you guys you're doing some stuff at the game on Sunday.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll be doing some stuff at the game on Sunday. We'll have Face Mental Health, which is our student athlete-led mental health initiative, which stands for Fostering Athletes' Continued Excellence. So they'll be there being able to provide some promotional material, shirts and information and all those different things. And it'll all be our student athletes. So they're there. You can interact with them. And then we'll be at numerous other kind of events throughout the week. So please come out to the game and help support Aggie Soccer and mental health.
Dr. Ryan Pittsinger. We're going to take another break and come back with our 4th segment right after this. You're listening to the Aggie Soccer Hour, live from Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. All right, it's the sprint to the finish, the Aggie Soccer Hour at Rudy's Barbecue on Harvey Road. You still got time to get by Rudy's and get some of that great Rudy's barbecue. I'm telling you, it is worth coming. And they're getting here. It's getting time now, very close for that green
chili stew, baby.
Green chili stew.
This weekend's going to be down in the 70s. Well, actually, right now it's 79 degrees, so it's officially green chili stew weather.
It's almost time to break out the jackets. So, all right, we've got 2 big games coming up this weekend on Thursday night.
Actually, we only have 2 home games left.
Yes.
And one of them is this Sunday.
Exactly.
And a big one, because it's going to be against a team that is the defending champions. It's a team that was in the Final Four last year, and their football team is going to be here on Saturday, so you may as well come out and hate on them all weekend.
Yes, exactly. You got 2 opportunities to hate on Alabama, so take full advantage of it. And that game on Sunday is at 6 o'clock. Now, the one at Vandy is at 7 o'clock Central Time here, Texas time. And you'll be able to listen to that on the 12th Man mobile app, Radio Aggieland app, 97.3 FM. We'll have the broadcast. Turn down the SEC network. Listen to Thomas Dick and I. We'll have the call from Nashville on Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And then Alabama's at 6 o'clock on Sunday. Jeff Gibbon and I will be on the SEC Plus network. Will also be 97.3 FM 12th Man mobile app and Radio Aggieland app. And what can you tell us first about Vandy?
Well, first off, both of these teams are very different than the teams that we played 2 weeks ago when we had a double game week. In that Mississippi State and Arkansas were two super physical, pretty direct teams. These are two of the most indirect, high possession teams in both Vanderbilt and Alabama. So they're very high possession. Both teams good at counter pressing, good at keeping on one side of the field, good at just kind of keeping the ball and for the people who are going to be just simple neutrals watching the game, these will be games that will be attractive to watch,
right?
Because both us and these teams are teams that want to try to play and want to put the ball on the ground and play. So similar styles, similar ideas in the way that the game is played. So I think it's one of those games that it could go either way. And we've had some really close games against these guys the last times we played. The last time we played against Vanderbilt, we had to come from behind to beat them 2-1.
Right
here at Ellis Field year before last.
And the last time we were up in Nashville was a game that went into the second overtime. Allie Watt
with a amazing individual effort
with I think 50 seconds left in the game,
something like that. And I think that was when Kenna Caldwell was a freshman that year,
I believe,
and one of the first games that she played. Yeah.
So, I think I believe you're right, because I think that was the last time we were in Nashville.
Big win for us that time.
Huge win for us, and we're looking for another one on Thursday night. And then you mentioned on Alabama on Sunday. That's at 6:00 on Sunday, and of course Gianna Paul.
She is a handful up front.
As you said just a moment ago.
You want to look at the other games around the league?
Yes, let's do real quick before we run out of time here. Big game that kind of jumps out at me on Thursday. In fact, everybody in the conference is in action both Thursday and Sunday. Thursday, the game that sticks out at me is Georgia traveling to Arkansas.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia is right there with us in the standings. They're the top of the league. So you got the top of the East against the top of the West. Georgia first place in the East. Arkansas tied with us first place in the West. And Georgia is a team that has done really, really well in the transfer portal. So that game is in Fayette-Nam. So it's you got to give the advantage to the Pigs, but it will be it could be a close game because Georgia's got the athletes to stick with them.
Yeah, the other game that jumps out at me is Auburn at Alabama. That's going to be in Tuscaloosa now.
Derby match.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just hoping that it was a real fierce physical game, as a lot of Auburn Alabama games are, no matter what they're playing. So
you got to figure it will be. The other one that could be interesting is LSU against South Carolina, because LSU is Jekyll and Hyde. You don't know who's going to show up. 1 week LSU will thrash somebody, and then next week LSU will thrash themselves. And
yes.
And you just never know what week it's going to be. So they're kind of crazy in how that goes. Kentucky coming off a huge win against Alabama. They're still undefeated. They're now in the national rankings up to number 18 in the country. Can they live with themselves as an undefeated ranked team? Because now they've got to go to Tennessee. Tennessee pulled off an amazing comeback the other night against Mississippi State. We're down 3-0 with 18 minutes to go. Scored again, and then the referee gave them a goal with a few minutes left to go to complete the tie at 3-3.
Yep.
And they got out of there. Tennessee got out of there with a 3-3 tie. So Kentucky-Tennessee, that's another big interesting game that goes on. And then on Sunday, you got Florida-Georgia, another Derby match. I think Arkansas-Auburn, there's a West versus West game. Ole Miss and Mississippi State. You have the Magnolia Cup on that one. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, another East-East game. That's another Derby match type of game. So a lot of rival, East-East, West-West games.
Right.
And of course, the big one is Alabama when they come to Texas A&M on Sunday night. And there's a lot of events going on with that game because you've got the Sunday Fun Day, all that stuff going on, all the usual things going on. Buy one ticket, get up to 4 kids in for free. But 6:00 at Ellis Field, second to last home game of the year for the Aggies.
Absolutely. And also we have a youth jersey giveaway. for the first 100 kids that visit the Howdy Tent in the northwest corner of Ellis Field.
Great.
So 7 o'clock on Thursday night in Nashville. Listen on 97.3 FM Radio Aggieland and 12th Man mobile app. And then 6 o'clock on Sunday evening at Ellis Field. I need to be sure and thank Kevin Minchow over here and Austin back at the station for keeping us on the air. That is no easy task with Coach G and I. And to everybody else, I want to tell you this copyrighted broadcast is an exclusive presentation of Learfield IMG College. Under broadcasting rights granted by Texas A&M University, reuse of this presentation is expressed without the express written consent of Texas A&M University and Learfield IMG College is prohibited. Announcers are provided by Learfield IMG College and Texas A&M University. For Coach G Guerrieri, I'm David Ellis. Thanks, everybody. See you next week. Gig 'em.